I think families are very excited and grateful for the program because, again, they didn't know programs like this existed. So a lot of times their young adults are at home, you know, isolated, having a sedentary lifestyle. And so they're excited when they hear that something like this exists. And then because of IAAQLI, there is no cost to them.
Welcome to the IAAQLI Six Pillars in Action podcast, where we deep dive into the transformative impact of the work being done in Indianapolis Black communities. Get ready to be inspired by the incredible projects and organizations making a real difference in the lives of Indianapolis residents. And that conversation starts right now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the IAAQLI Six Pillars in Action podcast, where we highlight the amazing work that's being done in our community thanks to the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative, also known as IAAQLI. I'm your host, Aaliyah English, filling in for Samantha Douglas today, and with me I have the visionary behind Project Will, Janine Coleman Miller. Now, Project Will is an organization dedicated to empowering individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities through the programs that promote independence, wellness, and life skills. Thank you so much for joining us today, Janine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, I talked a little bit about the program, but can you tell us a little bit about what started this program and the story behind Project Will?
Yes. So Project Will was actually founded in 2019 by myself and my mom. It was in honor of my dad. His name was Willie Spivey, and we wanted to do something in his honor. But it really showcased my work. I have professionally been working with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for over 30 years. And so when I came back to Indianapolis after college, it was right at the time Central State Hospital was closing. Some people were probably not familiar with Central State Hospital, but it was closing. And I started working with individuals and transitioning them into the community and advocating for them. And so in 2019, when we started Project Will, it was really at a time where I've helped, hundreds literally of families, but a lot of them didn't look like me just because they weren't aware of the resources that are available. And so I wanted to really make sure that we were providing services that helped individuals after high school, because that's when we see a lot of families depend on the school systems. But after school is done, when they exit school, it's like, what's next? And so we wanted to give them the what's next. So helping them, like you said, develop life skills, but also helping them with workplace preparedness and just equipping them with skills so that they can live a purposeful, productive adult life.
That's awesome. And because I subscribe to the IAAQLI newsletter, I know that you guys recently had a cohort that graduated who went through the program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So in 2019 when we started, it was really working with families that had funding through Medicaid. It's called the Medicaid waiver. It's a home and community-based program. But what we're finding is that a lot of families in the African American community are not aware of that funding resource, and so IAAQLI has helped us start a program that is really focused on individuals from the African American community, but also that may be at risk or have been justice involved. So that cohort was our first cohort for that specific program.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about the programs specifically that were offered in those programs and what they got out of it?
Yes. So it's an 8-week program, and we focus on 6 core areas. So we look at social and romantic relationships. We look at wellness. We look at self-advocacy. We look at all of the things that we feel they need to be successful in employment. And it's not just about the work skills, not just the hard and soft skills, but it's all the other things that go along with why they may not be able to maintain that employment. So, a lot of the individuals we serve and support, they can secure the job or secure employment, but they're not successful in maintaining it. So that is really what the 8 weeks is focused on, is all of the different areas that would help them be successful.
Do you have any success stories? Because that's amazing, or anything you would like to share from that first cohort? I had the pleasure of being at the graduation, so I saw the wonderful students that went through. Can you just share a little bit more about that?
Yes, one of the students that went through actually was referred to us by another nonprofit. We were at a summit telling about what we do, and she thought she had a young man that might fit the profile of the individuals we're seeking. And she was absolutely right. We worked with him. We actually started working with him several months before the cohort started. His mom really needs support and services to navigate these systems, and so we came alongside of her, supported him. It goes beyond just finding a job. I mean, healthcare. He did not have a primary care physician, so we got him connected there. We helped him participate in some of our workplace experiences. And so when he started the program, he was so excited because he just had not been involved in anything since he exited school. He's actually 22. He spends a lot of time on the streets. You would think that he's homeless, possibly. There's just a lot that goes on with him. So coming alongside of him, having him come to the program and graduating, it built his confidence, his self-esteem. He's so, excited about finding employment. So that was one of our really good success stories.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of impacts you, because that was one success story, but what impact are you seeing Project Will have on the community or even the families that are bringing these students there?
I think families are very excited and grateful for the program because, again, they didn't know programs like this existed. So a lot of times their young adults are at home, isolated, having a sedentary lifestyle, and so they're excited when they hear that something like this exists, and then because of IAAQLI, there's no cost to them. So they're really excited about that. So families are just grateful. I mean, you were at the graduation, you saw how excited they were about the possibilities, about the future. But also, I think for our community, I think one of the things we were talking to employers about is inclusive hiring, because, this is an underutilized talent pool. So a lot of individuals, are capable of working, but they just need some support. And so we also are trying to help our community employers who have those hard to fill entry-level positions know that this is a resource or a solution to some of their hiring issues.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about, because I know mental health in the African American community, we're coming around to it. I'm very proud of, how we are adapting to it, but there is another sector, this developmental and disability sector. So what challenges are you seeing or what breakthroughs are you seeing with programs like this?
I think the biggest issue in the African American community is messaging. How do we, because when we say intellectual and developmental disability, we say neurodiverse, there's so many different terms that we use, and sometimes that does not resonate with our families. And so we are starting to try to change our marketing materials and our conversations to start to describe individuals instead of just using these professional terms or using the professional jargon. So I think that's one of our barriers to our community is just the messaging and how we reach the families that we're trying to reach. So that's one of our biggest struggles. So that's where we're really trying to get guidance on how we should go about it. And we're also trying to find places where we think those individuals are, particularly our Black churches. So it is something that we are, thanks to IAAQLI, we are making, some progress.
That's awesome. Speaking of IAAQLI, can you tell us a little bit about the grant process and how they were able to help this organization accomplish this goal?
Yes. So the grant process, I'll be honest, our first go around, we were not approved, so we did try it again and we were successful because I think even with IAAQLI, there was some education even with some of the individuals that may have been reviewing the grants. But I do think the process, it was, typical grant process, but we've just been so excited after we were awarded the grant because they really have been very supportive because of the messaging, we are kind of behind on some of our goals. And so we approached them and talked to them about it and explained what some of the barriers were. And they were gracious in granting us kind of an extension to make sure that we are able to achieve the goals and outcomes that we said that we would. So they've been really, really great to work with.
Awesome. And why is it important for organizations to reach out and help organizations like IAAQLI to reach out and help organizations like Project Will? Can you tell us a little bit about that impact and why it's so beneficial?
as I mentioned, I've been working in this field for 30 years, and in some of our marginalized communities, we're just not aware of the resources, or even if someone makes us aware, the process to go through this is state and federal funds that we're talking about, and so for our families to really be able to get through the process, it is a long process, and I think sometimes they give up. But with the help of IAAQLI funds, we are able to support them. Without those funds, we would not be able to come alongside of families and really work with them through the complete process, because it could take up to a year. So we're talking about accessing Social Security funds, Social Security disability, all of these things, vocational rehabilitation, all of the things that are available to them that they're just not aware of. So professionals like myself and my team were able to not worry about, building another funding source. We're able to do that without any struggles.
That's awesome. And then you're providing longevity, and you're giving a life, not a lifeline, but you're helping these, as you could say, like you said, there's a drop off after high school. So that young adult, can you tell us a little bit more about your demographic and your age group?
Yes. So we originally started out serving 18 to 35-year-olds. And so now we have started serving individuals at 14, so while they're still in school. So we're starting to work with what we call transition coordinators at the different high schools. Washington Township and Wayne Township have been the two largest communities we've worked with, but we work with the transition coordinators while they're still in school to start talking to families about what is the plan after high school, because these are individuals that typically have an IEP or in special education services. So like their typical peers, they may not go off to college, they may not get a job right out of high school, they may not go to the military. So families really are not sure what's going to happen. So the younger we're able to start, the more prepared they are. So we offer summer camp for 8 weeks while the students are out of school. And so we're starting to talk about career awareness, career exploration, really having those conversations about what does adulthood look like? What is it about? So starting earlier is really important. In the state of Indiana, individuals are able to stay in school to age 22 if they receive special education services. But some families don't want the individuals to stay in school that long. They want them to exit at 18. But again, they didn't have, a solution. So now that they know that we're here, some of the students are exiting high school at 18 instead of staying those additional 4 years and starting our program.
That's awesome. And that's such a scary time for anyone.
Yes,
so for you guys to provide that support is just amazing. What are some hopes for the future of the Will Project?
So the future is we are trying to partner with more organizations, particularly churches, because one thing that we need to, in addition to the IAAQLI funds, we know that they won't always be there. One of the things we need is space. And so we are approaching churches. So we do have a couple of churches that work with us to give us space to run these programs. So we're, continuing to find churches in the community, looking for nonprofits in the community that we can support. But also we're looking at a national program called Pathways to Justice that is, like I said, it's a national program, particularly a program in New Jersey that is offering a disability response team. Here in Indianapolis, we offer that for people just in mental health crisis, but we don't offer it for the population that we serve. So we're looking at trying to convene all of the stakeholders here in Indianapolis to really have a conversation about that. So that's kind of, on the horizon for us, and just doing more advocacy work, not just at the local level, but at the state level as well.
All right, we're running out of time a little bit in this segment, but before we go, I want to know, what message would you like to share to any policymakers, anybody in public importance, anything that's uplifting? What should people know about Will Project, and how can they help?
So one of the things is just really understanding the difference between those individuals that are, that are neurodiverse versus mental health. So really educating themselves, but also just understanding that the individuals we support, they can work, they do have abilities. We want people to see them beyond their disability and see what, the limitations that we as a community put on the folks we serve, but really being more open and really understanding inclusion in the workplace and inclusion in our communities. So that is something that I really want people to really start thinking more about.
Awesome. I'm hearing that we need job opportunities.
Yes.
Come ready to hire.
Yes. Yes.
So we love that. Thank you so much for being with
Thank
us
you.
today. When we come back, we'll hear from another impactful organization making an impact in our community thanks to the IAAQLI. We'll see you right back. Coming up, hear from another IAAQLI awardee and learn more about the impact and work being done in our community. And don't forget, subscribe to our podcast and visit the IAAQLI website and learn more about the work being done and ways to get involved. Hello and welcome back to the IAAQLI 6 Pillars in Action podcast, where we highlight the amazing work being done in our community thanks to the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative. Now with me today, I have Emil Ekiyor, who is the president and founder of InnoPower. And InnoPower is an organization that is on the front line of economic empowerment in Indianapolis. And they are focused on improving the quality of life of underrepresented communities by driving innovation, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. That was a mouthful, but that's a lot that you're doing, and we're very proud and very happy to have you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, I got to shorten that. You know, in business, they say you got to make it like sweet.
But then if you make it sweet, we don't get as much as the impact because you're doing so much. So I say don't change a thing.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about the Hoosier AI 1000. I know AI is a big topic these days. So can you tell us a little bit about what inspired the effort and what's the goal and about the initiative as a whole?
Yeah, so two things happened to me in 2024, at the end of 2024, that really hit me hard. And one, and this is not like anything to anybody, but it really happened. I was at a Cathedral football game, and I was talking to Jeff Bridges, the president of Cathedral, and he was sharing with me how much work they were doing at Cathedral to make sure, one, that they were educating the parents around ChatGPT and AI to make sure the kids weren't using it for their homework all the time, and then educating their teachers on how to read the papers and the homework submitted to see if ChatGPT was used. And I was like, oh, wow, those are the times we're in today, right? So I then ran into the superintendent of IPS like 2 weeks later, and we're having a conversation around technology, and she was just sharing frustrations around number of students that had access to Wi-Fi, one-on-one technology and all of those, and the need for that to happen in the district with more students. And that really hit me because I was like, wow, I just had a conversation. On one side of 56th Street, they're trying to hold kids back from using AI. On the other side of 56th Street, these kids don't have Wi-Fi. And at some point in life, this group of kids are competing against each other for jobs, business, or whatever. So from the very jump, one group is already, so that hit me like, oh my God, like this is. So I then went to a prompt engineering AI training in October, I think it was, and it was with a group of executives. And I'm sitting in the room, and all of these executives, including me, we were learning this for the very first time. And I was like, oh my, and what we were learning was so unbelievable. And it was game changing for me because just the capacity you get, just being able to speak to the AI to get the results that you wanted, and be able to give it the right instructions with the right language and everything else. And in that training, I said, wow, if all of these executives are learning this for the first time, right, that means it's also good for little Ray Ray for the first time.
Yes.
So how do we democratize access? So as we started looking, we saw a lot of people say training for AI, but AI is so wide, there's so much. For us, we're saying in the very initial stages, emphasis stages, even though this thing is about 2 years old, we just want to train you on prompt engineering. How do you give the instructions to the AI to get the response you want? So as we look at our community, when I say our community, I mean our black communities, and when we say black community, it's important to define and say the only predominantly black communities there are in Indianapolis are low income, meaning the majority of the people who live there are black. When you look at that, the socioeconomic status means there's a certain threshold. So when we look at that community, we're saying, we want to empower you with the skills to compete for tomorrow. And we don't want to wait till tomorrow to do it. We want to do it now. So as we were looking to say, how do we do that to get as many students as possible? So if you graduated from Warren in the class of 2025, you just graduated May. If someone has said to you, if people have been saying to you for 12 years, 10 years, you're 2 grades behind, we say you're not 2 grades behind anymore if you know how to use this tool. If you're returning from prison and you're trying to get into the workforce, and we know the struggles people have, but today with remote work, with content creation, there's so much. If you have skills and just knowing how to prompt in the beginning, it gives you more opportunities. If you are elderly and you're just trying to get your schedule together for your drugs, or even if you just want to learn something, you want to communicate, you want to help your grandkid with their homework, if we teach you how to prompt, now you can do it. So it opens so many doors, but we also know that sometimes that kind of know-how and technology trickles down to a community 2 years later. So we believe if we can train you on prompt engineering in the very infancy stages today, once you learn that, now we can train you on automation, we can train you on building agents, but if you never get prompt and just knowing how to speak to it, so that was our whole goal. Then we said, okay, let's go find people to do the training. And we were amazed that there just are not a lot of people that have been certified to be a master trainer in prompt engineering. And we couldn't find people. So we said, well, we have to create our own bench. We have to train people as master trainers so now they can go out and train other people. So we started AI 1000 to say we're going to train 50 master trainers, and then we're going to give a $500 stipend to each to go out and train 20.
Wow.
And the goal is to have 1,000 people trained by July 31.
Wow.
So again, the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative, like Emil, we love that. Let's do it. So they supported us, and we just are finishing the training with the 50 master trainers now, and now a lot of them have their 20 to go out and train. So we're right in line to get to July 31st to have 1,000 trained.
That's amazing. What was the feedback when you offer a program like this? Like AI, it's a big conversations now. A lot of people are scared of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So how were you able to can you tell me a little bit about the demographic of students that you trained and what were their response to learning this thing?
Great question. So we recruited people because we wanted to recruit people that, one, we knew have a heart for the community, where so some people, right, when it comes to training and supporting other people, that's a headache. They're not trying to do that, right? Because people may not be receiving the training. But we know there are some people where that's not working with people is their passion. So we wanted to recruit those kind of people that had networks that love empowering people. So we recruited those people, plus the time commitment. So it's a 24-hour commitment to get trained on just how to prompt, then another 24 hours to train you on how to teach prompt. So those 48 hours to someone who's working, got kids, is a commitment. So we had to find people that could do it, right? So we, luckily, God blessed us. We found an amazing group. We recruited an amazing group of master trainers. That we're holding them back right now. They're ready to go conquer, right? But, we have the first group of master trainers trained in the state of Indiana to deliver prompt engineering.
Can you tell me a little bit what the program looks like? Am I on a computer? Am I typing things in? What are some of the barriers or some of the questions that the people taking the class have?
So one of the things is, obviously when you design something like, you have to know people have lives. So you want to make sure that you're doing it and you're time sensitive, right, and not taking up all of their time. But you also don't want it open-ended. You don't want it to be an 8-week, right, so which it ended up being. So we ended up doing 2 days a week virtually on Tuesday and Thursday evening from 6 to 8, and then Saturday mornings from 8 to 12, right? So we did that to make sure people had time. So the in-person session was Saturday mornings, where you come in and you're with your group. The virtual sessions were also a group, but they're interactive sessions, right? So what you're doing is you're also giving them, they're using their real life scenarios to use the prompt engineering.
That's nice because it makes it
Exactly.
applicable.
So everyone that took the course, every one of the master trainers had to write a book.
Oh,
But it also showed them the power of AI. A lot of them have been thinking about writing a book, but back in the day, to write a book, you're just going to sit down and do it on your own. Today with AI, all of them, for the most part, have finished writing their book in 6 weeks.
wow.
But it also gave them a good glimpse of just the power of it. When you know how to speak to it on prompt and the results you get from it, it just gives you so much capacity.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about how this, and you mentioned it earlier, but just a little more detail about how the IAAQLI grant helped fund this and help make this vision of yours a reality?
So when we pitched this to them and said we had a grant with the IAAQLI, and we were doing cybersecurity training. So remember when the grants were given, the original applications were almost 4 years ago. And this is how fast technology is moving.
Yes.
4 years ago, the conversation was cybersecurity, get people trained, everyone's lined up. 4 years later, the cybersecurity jobs are not where they used to be, and AI is rolling. So we went back to the IAQLI and said, look, we can continue getting people this cybersecurity training. It was the hot thing when we pitched. Today, that has changed. We want to pivot to the AI training and train the master trainers, and we'll have 1,000 people trained by July. That's like, we love this. So what I love about it is, again, with the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative, the ability to go and share that here's what we're thinking. Now, you could be rigid. We could have just kept doing cybersecurity and training people, but it was almost wrong. Like you were setting people up for failure because the industry is changing. So the fact that they saw that too and said, we love the fact that you came because we know you could just kept doing, but now this is even bigger impact because you with the same dollars, you're going to have 1,000 people trained. They was like, okay, you're not asking for any more money, right? I was like, oh, we don't want no more money. So they was like, let's go do it. So, it's such a blessing to be able to communicate. And again, it's innovation, it's ideas, but it's also the ability to execute those ideas.
Awesome. And you mentioned like technology changed so rapidly. Just 4 years ago, we were talking about cybersecurity, and now we're into AI. How are you ensuring that these Hoosier AI 1,000 trainees are going to have that longevity or be able to sustain this information as technology can and will change?
Great question. So remember we said we're starting off with prompt. We believe that's like the basic blocking and tackling, right? You got to learn how to do that before you get to automation, before you get agents. So those group of trainers, master trainers now, they're getting their prompt master trainers. So our partner to do this is Indiana Wesleyan University, right? So Indiana Wesleyan is the certification body for the master trainers. So once they've completed this, the next step now is they're going to get trained on automation. They're going to get trained on agents. So today, I can just build agents. Everybody doesn't know how to do it, but it's a skill I can get trained on. Where everything I do, the way my mail is checked every day is automated, my calendar is connected to my mailbox. I could build automation that allows me to get all my bills from my emails, put it on a different form so I can see my bills, put it on the calendar when my bills are due so they're paid. All of those things, you could do it today. So for the trainers, they have the initial prompt. Now the next phase, so we're just going to stack credentials with them.
So it's just like the tip of the iceberg.
The very tip. But the goal with them is they're going to continue going out and empowering the community. So again, the whole goal is to democratize access. Little Ray got to know how to prompt.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, he does.
So how do we do that is people who know how to speak to little Ray and work with him, and we got to empower them to go do it.
Aside from empowering little Ray Ray, what other long-term impacts do you hope that the Hoosier AI 1000 initiative has on our African-American community?
So one of the things that we're doing now is, again, preparing businesses to compete. And we believe in competition, right? We're not one of those that just think everybody gets a trophy, you just get a big. You got to be prepared to go compete. And sometimes we feel a lot of businesses have been prepared, but they're not being prepared to compete. But if I can teach you the prompt, now if you want to bid for a contract, the contract is 50 pages. When I look at those bids, sometimes I just close it and put it down. It's just, but I could upload that contract into my large language model, ChatGPT. I could tell ChatGPT, explain this contract to me like I'm a 5-year-old and make it 1 page. The contract is explained, the bid is explained. Now I could take my capabilities, my business model, my pro forma, all the things about my business, I can upload it. I can say, now, look at my capabilities and rewrite this bid for me that meets my capabilities. And it does it for me. And that's done in an hour.
Wow. Which would have taken you, well, me days.
Weeks. Because most of the time you got to go hire someone to help you with a contract and bid. So it changes the game on how I get capacity. So in our Indie Biz Pass, a lot of our businesses, all of our businesses are sole proprietors. They don't have employees. So they need capacity. So for a small business owner, this gives you immediate capacity. Well, you got to get trained how to do the skills. And it can be like, so that's what we're doing. And a lot of our master trainers are going to be doing those trainings.
That's amazing. And I could talk about this all day. It's so interesting. But they're telling us we have to go. But my final question is, what message would you share to listeners about investing in this program, or getting involved in this program, or getting contacted with some trainers so they can be a part of the 1000?
My message to everyone is this. AI is what we are all going to use for the rest of our lives. It's not a competition with AI. It's a competition amongst people that use AI. Going forward at work, at home, when you see dope presentations, nobody's writing that on their own anymore, right? So are you going to be the one that your presentation doesn't look as good? What you're doing is not as excellent, because the next person, I guarantee, is going to be using it. So if you want to compete, you better learn these skills now. If you're a young person, you graduating from high school, graduating from college, this is what you're going to be using for the rest of your lives. So if you don't learn it and you wait, you will be behind. And not only are you going to be behind, the technology is moving so fast. 6 months ago, what AI was doing is so much more advanced 6 months later. So there's not a lot of room to wait. If you wait, by the time they're going to be robots everywhere and you haven't learned just basic prompts, you're in trouble.
Oh, no. Oh, no, the future of robots. Oh, no, I don't want to. Something out of a movie. But you're so right, and we have to, and you're providing the resource. So how can people get connected to the resource?
So, again, if you're interested in being a part of this, if you want to sign up, if you go to www.innopowerindy.com, you can see some information about how to sign up. If you go to innopower.ai, right, you'll be able to see our AI tools, and you'll be able to sign up on our platform as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the IAAQLI 6 Pillars in Action podcast. Please do not forget to like and subscribe on our social media, and subscribe to that IAAQLI newsletter. We'll see you guys next time.
We hope you enjoyed today's 6 Pillars in Action podcast and learned more about how the IAAQLI funding is impacting our city. And remember, to stay up to date on what's happening with IAAQLI and the 6 Pillars in Action, subscribe to the podcast in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also check out the 6 Pillars in Action newsletter, blogs, and other videos on our website at IAAQLI.org. Until next time, let's continue to celebrate the power of transformation. See you next time.